You are listening to Season 2 of Transition Tales, hosted by Christina Herr. Listen to stories from the military community that inspire you to visualize your future and feel empowered to move through your own transitions in life. Are you looking to increase your marketability as a project manager? DLL Coach offers training and certifications that will enhance anyone's resume, from project management assessment and certification to change management. I have partnered with DLL Coach to offer you 10% off any of their courses by using code Transition Success. You can find more information about their programs at dllcoach.com. That's Delta Oscar Lima Coach.com. Welcome back to Transition Tales. I am Christina, and I have an awesome guest with me today. I'm very excited. This is a fellow doctoral student. I don't get to meet quite very many of them. So Wayne, would you like to tell our audience a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I guess exciting, like you, a doctoral student. So that's something that's out there and kind of strange. But I'll kind of get to that as we go, and what kind of led me that direction. But I'm Wayne Taylor. I spent 20 years in the U.S. Army. I started off as enlisted, made up to E7, and decided to make the mistake. Not a mistake. Although when I'm feeling like you're going back to basic training again, go through warrant officer course, it might be a mistake. So as an E7, going back through the warrant officer program, it's a nightmare.
I hear warrant is a challenging program.
It was, but I think it was more so of, you're in that mindset of being in charge to a point, and now I'm going back and acting like a private all over again. So that was fun and interesting. But spent some time as a warrant, doing counterintelligence and human intelligence, and then finally decided it was time to get out of the military. And I transitioned out of the military, went to the corporate world for about several years, and then while I was going through that, that's what kind of led me down to the path of taking that next step of, let's do the doctoral journey. And so now I'm a doctoral student at the University of South Florida, focused on program development, but really focused on veteran advocacy and veteran issues.
Oh, so awesome. I love that stuff. So why don't you tell us like the story of your transition? I'd love to hear that.
Sure. So, boy. Transition for some people can be great, and I was determined this was going to be a great experience. I was ready to be done with the military, although my senior leadership was not ready. I was a CW3 getting ready to go up for promotion for CW4, and the general I actually worked for down at US CENTCOM was like, hey, come with me to DC. No, I'm not going to DC. That's the last place I want to be. My two children were in high school getting ready to go to college. And in 2012, I spent more time deployed after, of course, 9/11. So I never really saw my kids grow up. So I was determined, okay, I'm getting out. Life is going to be great. I'm ready for this. Had already talked to a business owner I know, and he owned a defense contracting company. Said, hey, I don't really want to go down that path. I'd like to go down, something else, civilian world. Oh, well, our company is actually starting a civilian branch of this. So, oh, okay. This is going to be an easy transition. I'm going to go from uniform one day and move over to corporate world, 6-figure salary. Here's sign on the dotted line. Life is great.
That's a nice salary.
Who can argue with that?
Yeah, that's a nice salary.
Walking out, I'm like, woohoo, I'm making more than I made in the military. I was like, okay, this is what dreams are made of. All right, I'm happy. So I transitioned over, and I thought I was happy. I thought I was doing everything I wanted to do, but something seemed to be missing. And I'm like, what is going on? So it's, okay, not a problem. We're still playing around with the civilian side of this business. I'm trying to help do business development, all these other things. And the business owners are like, hey, you know what? We don't really want to go down this civilian market. That's too much of a challenge with our insurance and with our bank. So we're going to close that side of the business. And why don't you come over to the government side? Huh. All right. Just trying to avoid that. All right. Back to defense contracting. Okay. But don't worry. We've got a deal for you. We know we're not going to put you on site. We're going to have you run our operations. Still keep your salary. Life is good. Comes with even a better perk. Unlimited PTO, unlimited paid time off. Okay.
Wow.
Who can offer that? I mean, this is now you're like, all right, the only thing I'm missing is like my own private jet and
I'm like,
car and all
how
this.
does
Like,
unlimited PTO work? What if you just want to stay on PTO? Like,
well, what's interesting is there's a lot of companies that went down that path, and then they found out that their employees never really took all that time off because, of course, in the back of your mind is, well, if you can be gone for a month or 2 months, hey, do we really need you? So it's
right.
like, okay. So I actually didn't use a lot, but I loved it because just like the military, I was traveling all the time. And basically for this job, I was on the road 3 weeks out of every month across the country. And so again, it's meaning that thrill that I'm never sitting still. I'm not just sitting in an office going crazy. And so I thought this is what I wanted. Christina, it took 6 years, 7 years, around that 6.5 year mark. I'm sitting there and I'm wondering what is wrong with me. Something has got to be wrong. I'm not happy. Had some pay raises to go along with it. My kids were moving out of the house. Yes, victory. So they're becoming an empty nester. My wife and I I'm like, okay, life is good. My kids are moving out. Her and I have this great relationship. Work is going okay, but it's not satisfying something. What is going on?
I
What
think,
is wrong with me?
did you think
Gotta be
maybe it
something
was
wrong.
just, did you think maybe it was just, you were comfortable in it because it's what you were used to?
I thought that, and I truly did because, okay, 3 years, it's time to move. In fact, when we were here in Florida, when we were coming up on the 3 year mark, and my daughters are like, okay, where are we going next? It's time to go. I'm like, no, we're staying here.
What?
What are you talking about? No, no. I was not making close friends because I was planning on moving again. What are you talking about? We're staying. I don't know. We're moving. And, it was a whole new concept. So I was like, okay, maybe that's it. But it was really this sinking feeling that I was going through. I'm like, what is wrong with me? And I was getting frustrated. So I was okay, maybe I need a new challenge. Why not? Let's see what else I can challenge myself with. So that's what led me to applying to the doctorate program. And I applied to the doctorate program and got accepted. I said, okay, I'll do some coursework, talk to my bosses. Hey, do you mind if I take something a little off the road? Maybe that's it. I feel like I'm gone all the time. What's going on? But still, I had this feeling that something was wrong. And I mean, to the point of my wife said, you need to do something. You need to find something. You're starting to get depressed. What's this? What are you doing? I said, all right. And I saw an opportunity in our local county has, and a lot of the counties do, they have a veterans treatment court. And it's a unique court that's set up to help veterans who, whether they're homeless, whether they're suffering from some type of addiction, a lot of addiction, even folks who are suffering from MST, military sexual trauma, you end up finding them that they'll have something that goes on and then they end up inside court. And so instead of going to a straight punitive court, they have the option of you can go down the criminal path or you can go to this veterans treatment court. And you have people come in, oh, this should be easy. I'm going to go to the veterans treatment court. Surprise, surprise. Here's the next year of your life is going through this program and really investing and focused on that you're going to change. And so they were looking for mentors, volunteers who are willing to come in and work with some of these veterans going through. And I said, sure. Let's add something else to the plate. Well, why not? If I'm busy, then maybe that will fix this void that I'm feeling.
Mentorship is also another thing that would have been a comfort zone for you because you were a warrant officer. So like that really
Yes.
keyed into me when you mentioned that. You're like, yeah, let's add something else to the plate, but that's really what a plate is for a service member. It's, mentorship, it's deploying, it's so it's almost like you were putting all of these pieces back on your plate is what I'm noticing.
So that's where I was at. I was like, okay. So as I started going down this path of mentorship with some of these veterans, it really made me stop in my track and say, okay, what am I doing? Why is this veteran having such a hard time and that they ended up in court? And I started looking at it and I'm like, I see what this is. And it was almost like that aha moment, that epiphany that you have. And it's like, the light shines down and aha, okay, everything's happening. And I'm like, they've got the same problem I have. Oh no. Ooh, I need to fix this before I end up not as one of the mentors, but as one of the ones being mentored. I was like, okay,
Right.
what's going on? And I realized that I didn't have a purpose anymore. When we're in the military, it's we have a higher calling, a higher purpose. We know that at the end of the day, here's the objective. Charge the hill. Got it. I got it. I'm training to charge the hill. I'm training to do X, whatever it is. But we always had a purpose in the military. And I realized, okay, going out and helping this company make money, that's not my purpose in life. It's not why I get up in the morning. Why do I get up in the morning? And it took a lot of deep reflection. Something, something I'm sure you're very familiar with. Critical reflection in the doctoral journey is doing a lot of critical thought process. And I started spending a lot of time really thinking about what is it that makes me happy in life. And I started, didn't really like writing as much, even though I signed up for a program that's heavy writing. Started jotting down all these notes of, okay, what is it that makes me happy? What really makes me happy? And I found that working with the veterans in that veterans treatment court kind of filled that void and started making me happy. And so then it came down to, having a candid conversation with my wife, because she's like, hey, whatever it takes to make you happy, do it. That's what I want you to do. And I said, well, honey, here's what I want, but I don't know if I'm ready to step away from the job right now because that's good money. And if I go to something else that's really just focused on helping veterans, I'm not going to be making that kind of money. So can I do that? Can I step away? And, it took a little bit of time. It took some more frustration, took some other challenges in life occurring. Company ended up losing a bunch of contracts, and then as they're going through a reorg, they're like, hey, do you mind if you're doing this doctorate thing? Do you want some more time off? Would you like to adjust? And I ended up eventually stepping away from the company and saying, okay, now let's look for something that's really going to fulfill that sense of purpose.
Right.
And so your question about that transition, I mean, I thought I had it figured out. And then, some people, they face a transition struggle as soon as they're getting out. Others face it maybe a couple months later. I mean, I faced it years later.
Right.
And I realized that there was something going on. And so, I mean, that was
Well,
my transitions.
you did according to what a standard transition success looks like. You did meet that standard. You had an amazing position. You were making good money. You had all of those boxes checked. But like you said, that doesn't mean that it's meeting your purpose. And some people's purpose is making good money. Other people, that is not fulfilling to them. And I think that's really something important that transitioning service members, they don't look at, because they look at the transition journey that is laid out for them. Learn how to write a resume. Wow, your resume is amazing. Check that off. Learn how to do interviews. That's amazing. Check that off. Learn how to network. Check that off. Get that 6-figure job. Check that off. Okay, now you're transitioned. You should be good to go. And that's not how
That's not what it is. And that's actually what led me to your podcast.
right? That's not how human beings, we are in the midst of this. And I talk about this a lot because I love Brene Brown. We're in the midst of this fitting in culture phenomenon where it is so important to fit in nowadays that we do not bask in our uniqueness anymore. You are put down for being different. Like, what do you mean you turned down that job? Like, I bet people thought you were insane when you're like, nah, I'm not going to do the civilian deployment contract stuff. Right? They're like, why
Oh,
not?
it gets worse than that. So when I stepped away from the company, I had their competitors come over. Would you like a job? No, that's okay. No, no, you haven't even seen an offer letter yet. No, 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 that's not what I'm interested in. I had another local company they've won a bunch of contracts. They're on MacDill Air Force Base, and they're doing great work and a good company. And the guy came over and says, "Hey, would you like a job?" And wrote a number down. Here we wrote the number down. We fold it, and he slides it across the little coffee table that we're sitting at having a cup of coffee. And I said, I appreciate the offer, but I'm not really interested right now. And he just looked at me like I was crazy and
Yeah.
literally thought I was nuts. And he's just like, you haven't even touched the paper. I said, he goes, so do you think you're worth more than that? I said, it's not about that. It's about what is going to be fulfilling for me. And again, he looked at me like I was completely nuts. And I was like, if you're looking for someone to fill that role, I will go through my Rolodex and I'll find people for you.
Rolodex.
Okay, now I'm dating myself.
No, I used to have one
On my
too.
phone.
I love the Rolodex. It was like a great invention. I
But
want to
you're
back,
right.
yeah, I want to back up a little bit to your education journey real quick. So to be a warrant officer, you only need a bachelor's degree, correct?
Well, to be a warrant officer, they may have changed it slightly, but to be a warrant officer, to remain a warrant officer, you need to have a bachelor's degree.
Oh, so you didn't
And
have to have one to start the journey.
to start the journey, I didn't have to have one. In fact, my education journey, that's a whole other, you know,
Well, I'm just curious how you went from warrant officer to pursuing your doctorate. So were you already into education and you like pursued your master's degree while you were in?
so while I was in, it took me okay, I'm going to throw how old I am here. So in 92, I joined right out of high school. Went into Army infantry, light infantry, something definitely wrong with me. And as a mortarman, carrying an 81 millimeter mortar and then jumping out of airplanes with those aren't
You
really,
like blowing shit up and, flying
of
across the sky. I mean, what's
who
wrong with
wouldn't
that?
enjoy having fun doing stuff like that? So while I was in, you keep hearing this saying, hey, you can get your education while you're in the military. All right, let me see about signing up for classes. Well, what they don't tell you is you need to get your leadership to sign off on that same form. Hey, well, we've got this training exercise coming up. Okay. Hey, we've got this going on. Okay, am I ever going to get to school? Years go by. It wasn't until I finally went into the warrant officer program where they're like, hey, look, if you're going to stay a warrant, you have to have an undergrad.
So, do you feel a little bit better about the path that you're on now? Like you don't feel as uneasy? I see you have some of your military memorabilia behind you. Did that help you like kind of come into your own as a veteran?
It did. I was slowly making that transition. And when I really started working with the student veterans and realizing what my purpose was in life, it was easier to embrace. And I mean, now as a veteran advocate, now it's going around and I'm okay. Hey, I'm going to beat you. I mean, I'm going to be the one on your desk saying, why are we not taking care of veterans?
Right. And it is a fight. It's going to be, and you have, even though this is both of our purpose, we also understand that it is something new and unique and people don't like change. So it is a fight that we have to be willing to fight for, and it has to tie into your purpose and your values, or you're not going to make it. Those folks that just pick something and it's not tied to their values and their purpose, and it's very hard to stick with things when they get tough. That's something that I have learned, and it's something that I teach people when I work with them and I coach them. Um, if you value money, great, then you're going to be able to stick with it because you want that money. But if that's not, like my brother, he loves being financially stable. Me, I'm like, psh. There was a point in time that I had no idea how I was going to pay my rent, and I was thriving. I was like, it's going to happen. Something will happen, and something usually did. And that's how I knew I was on my path. So from the time you got out of the military to when you actually felt you were on your path of purpose, how much time had passed?
6.75 years.
Okay. Shorter than mine. Mine was 11 years.
Almost almost 7 years. But and for me, I feel that okay, that was I mean, I feel it was long, and I'm like, oh wow, I should have real this should have happened much earlier on. But then I've talked to other people, and all of a sudden they're starting to go through the same thing, and they're hitting that 9, 10 year mark, and it's like, okay, it doesn't happen right away. And this is where got it. Military's trying to make changes and trying to fix their transition program.
They're never going to fix that
Okay.
transition assistance program when they keep making a one size fits all journey. Period.
Exactly.
And they can quote me on that.
And I don't, I mean, I get it that, some people are fortunate to use that skills bridge program that's out there, but not everyone has that same opportunity.
I have somebody that used Skill Bridge, and they realized they were on the wrong path.
And so I think that's the important thing is understanding that transition doesn't happen when you're transitioning out of the military. It may not happen for
you can
30.
go through multiple ones. There are some
Yes.
people, and honestly, everybody transitions in life. It's the old to the new. Right now we're in COVID. We're in a transition that is never ending because we don't even know what our new normal is. But that space in between an old and a new normal, that is that transition. And it's not that only military community members transition. It's our transitions are unique to our culture. And I think that's
Yes.
what I like to bring about because everybody transitions. And I had multiple transitions from getting out of the military to where I am right now. And it continues. We constantly go through them. It's just that they are unique, and how long it takes is how long it takes. I think 11 is my magic number because I served 11 years. I took 11 years to call
11 years.
myself a veteran, right? And I'm like, okay, what's going to happen in the next 11 years? It better not
Okay,
take me 11 years to be a doctor.
I was going to say, it better not take you 11 years to get that doctorate. So for me, like I said, it goes back to that purpose thing. And you said, I mean, you loved it because, I mean, you're finding the same thing. It's finding what your purpose is after service, that you're still giving a service back to, our brothers and sisters in arms. And
like you said, a lot of service members, our purpose is tied to service. And we have to find a way to serve, whether it's our own community or another community, to get that purpose going for many of us. With your transition to finding your purpose, because I really think that is a key aspect of your transition, what do you think your biggest challenge was?
I think it was really recognizing that that was my challenge. I truly thought I knew what I wanted. I thought what I wanted was actually my purpose. And you talk about, some people had their purpose, they think is going after money. And, I grew up with no money. And so going into the military was, my escape from, my childhood, from my socioeconomic situation was going to the military. And then, wow, okay, this is a whole new different life. And okay, I have resources. Okay, this is great. So, I mean, I thought I knew where I wanted to go, and I thought I knew it was going to make me happy. And like I said, it doesn't happen right overnight for everyone. And for me, it took almost 7 years to the day. But that's where it was really recognizing that, okay, something's wrong. I'm not fulfilling my purpose. And I think that's where it really came down to, was that recognition.
Did you have like a mini crisis when you found out what it was? Like, oh my God, how could I have been so stupid?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I do that all the time.
I'm looking, I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. Really? Don't I feel like an idiot right now?
Yeah, you're like,
And I'm thinking, and I've talked to other people about, you need to find something that's going to make you happy when you get out, when you leave the military. And I've got friends who are getting out of the military who said, hey, what's some recommendation you have? Oh, yeah, you definitely need to find what's going to make you happy. And, you need to look at it from an intrinsic aspect. And
here you weren't even doing it. It's so funny.
Okay,
we do that a lot. We really
Yeah.
do. Like, we're great at giving advice to others, and we're just not that we won't even take our own advice. Sometimes we don't recognize that we're not taking
Sometimes we
our.
don't, right. We don't
Yeah.
recognize that the advice we're giving is probably the same advice we need to be accepting into ourselves. So,
Right. And we might need somebody else to say it to us, because sometimes you can't really convince yourself. It's just who we are.
oh
Um,
yeah.
what so so would that be like your main advice to folks that are transitioning out of the military? And that book that you were talking about, like, would you recommend that book?
I would, even though it's heavy, it can be, I won't say it's heavy reading, but I mean, he ties his books together. So
So Simon
what I would
Sinek,
say is
it's Simon Sinek, Find Your Why, right?
find your why.
Okay.
But what my advice to someone would be, take that moment, take that moment to step back and you know what your goals are, whether it be, financially or, socially, what you want, or what you think you want, or what you want that, hey, I need this because I need to survive and this is going to make my life better for my family and my kids and all that. Okay, I get that. You know what you want. Write that down on one list, but really write down on it, create another list. What is it that will make you happy in life? And oh, well, a new car. Okay, let's get past that. My paying my mortgage on my house, so I still got a place to live. Okay, yeah, okay, important. But what is it that really makes you happy? And what drives you to get up in the morning? There's something deep down that really resonates with you. And I'd say take a moment, really just try to think about that. And it may take more than a moment. It may take a couple of days of really exploring what it is that makes you get up in the morning and, makes it work. And for your listeners, I mean, worst case comes to worst, find me and contact me and we'll talk about it and, talk to you and, because you're going to help them find, okay, hey, here we go. Let me smack you around and help you figure out what it is.
Yeah, I
It's like,
love
but,
doing that.
talk to someone, spend some time talking to someone else and hearing their perspective where they can ask you questions and help you find what your why is, what your purpose is.
Yeah, and there's so many opportunities to do that, and but we don't think outside the box. So I'll give you an example. The VA has a separate entity that is not really tied to them, but it's kind of funded similarly, called the Vet Center. And people don't want to go there because they're like, oh, it's therapy. And I'm like, no, they help with military transition as well. So you can go there and you can process through, because a lot of therapists do you need to do some self-actualization, and they'll just ask you the right questions. So there are different avenues. If you get a good mentor through Veterati or some of these other mentor sources, but if you find that you're getting the cookie cutter plan, run away. If you are really trying to figure out who you are and what your purpose is, don't go over the cookie cutter plan yet. Figure out your path, then go find those people and they can tell you how to get there. Because if you don't know your destination, nobody can help you.
Absolutely.
All right.
Well, I can hear you. And
Okay. Do you have any final words for our audience?
The only final words would be take some time, get to know Christina, because I'm definitely going to make sure that I can follow up and get to know Christina more. But take some time, get to know Christina and listen to Transition Tales. Tell other people to listen in or call in and volunteer to be on the podcast.
Thank you. That's a great plug for
There's my
me.
call to action.
I might have to do that as a commercial. uh, this has been another episode of Transition Tales. It has been awesomely fun. First time having a guest on that I didn't know prior. And I think it was a great experience. We had to warm up to each other, but I think it was awesome. I learned a lot about you, and I learned some different ways of looking at some things, and I really appreciate that. So I hope everybody has a good day. Deuces.